Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiations reveals government's plan to review a 10-year-old trade policy for robust trade engagement. House committee intervenes in the issue of cost of tax collection for agencies. Oil prices stable on hopes of a slowdown in coronavirus transmission as UK officially enters recession due to COVID-19. I am Benny Adams, your guide. We begin with a look at oil prices, where prices moved higher this Wednesday after an industry report showed that U.S. inventories of crude fell more than analysts had expected, boosting hopes that fuel demand can overcome the coronavirus pandemic. Brent crude was up 15 cents or 0.3% at $44.65 a barrel by 0208 GMT after falling around 1% on Tuesday. West Texas Intermediate was up 9 cents or 0.2% at $41.70 a barrel, having dropped 0.8% in the previous session. The American Petroleum Institute said on Tuesday that crude stocks fell by 4 million barrels last week, more than analysts' expectations of a 2.9 million barrel draw. Now the row between the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the Nigerian Postal Services over stamp duty is no longer news. What is news, however, is that the House of Representatives Committee on Finance is addressing the clash. Chairman of the committee, James Abiodun Faleke, in an interface with the two agencies, says the committee will do everything possible to resolve the matter, even if it requires legislative amendments. The issue of who administers the collection of stamp duty arose when the 2019 Financial Act gave the Federal Inland Revenue Service the right to administer and collect taxes accruable to the Federation account, including stamp duty.
They will issue you with a checkbook. This checkbook that you are being issued with, you pay for it, which is in the region of 2,000, 4,000 or 5,000. It depends on the number of the leaflets in those checkbook. The money you are paying is not for the check itself. It's the stamp duty you pay for legalizing that instrument.
So what FIRS has done as well is to print adhesive stamps to denote duty paid. FIRS is not selling stamps, neither is it printing stamps for selling.
The issue relating to the amendment of the Stamp Duty Act in the 2019 Finance Act, it has not in any way stopped NIPOST from doing what its mandate is supposed to be.
And of course, we will look at all the legal issues that you have raised. Whatever law that requires amendment will be made.
The committee is also expected to look into the issue of cost of tax collection for agencies before its final report. The Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiations, as part of its mandate, has floated a new policy document to ensuring robust trade engagement, having a comprehensive trade policy document to act as reference point in addressing issues of lack of consistency in government policy, or having a documented medium or long-term plan for government has been a long-standing battle for industry key players in identifying Nigeria's trade policy. The unveiling of a new Nigerian policy roadmap is aimed at facilitating free trade between Nigeria and other countries with a spelled-out policy directive for Nigeria. It also has a coordinated and coherent effort in trade negotiation to scale up local production and the manufacturing sector.
2002 trade policy regime, capturing contemporary changes, developments, and recent COVID-19 challenges and issues. It's also guided by previous national development plans, structural adjustment programs in 1960s to 80s, and trade liberalization agreements 1990s to date, or the noughties, if you may call them that, the noughties to date. And then trade policy context is to recognize the important link between trade policy and industrial policy.
The new roadmap seeks to play a vital role in formalizing the informal sector in Nigeria and ensure a long-term plan for government. You are watching Business Express, reaching you from Abuja. The program continues after this break.
Let me assure Nigerians that all COVID-19 intervention funds are safe in the Treasury single account, and that government is still open to donations in this regard. Government has opened special accounts with 5 commercial banks which are directly linked to the Treasury single account. Donated funds are safe in the Central Bank of Nigeria. For verifiable information about the funds and other financial obligations of the federal government, please contact us directly at the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The account details for the donations are as follows.
Now, a look at the global stock market, where markets peer losses as investors monitor virus development. Olainka Ojo has a summary.
Asia markets spared losses on Wednesday as investors watched for coronavirus developments. The Shanghai Composite fell 0.36% to close at 3,319.27 basis points. Japan's Nikkei traded higher by 0.41% to close at 22,843.96 basis points. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 1.42%. Meanwhile, Europe stocks, though mixed, held their own on Wednesday after doubts emerged about fresh US stimulus, as German DAX fell slightly by 0.06 to close at 12,939.04 basis points, while London's FTSE 100 rose by 0.86%. CAC 40 of France also rose by 0.29%. To African markets, South Africa's main stock index erased losses as the JSE Top 40 rose by 0.39%. Tunidex was up 0.38% to close at 6,747.33 points. Kenya Nairobi All-Share Index, Namibia Overall Index, and Ghana GSE Composite recorded losses in early Wednesday trading.
In other economic news, the UK economy has officially entered a recession as it suffered its biggest slump on record between April and June as coronavirus lockdown measures pushed the country officially into recession. The economy shrank 20.4% compared with the first 3 months of the year. Household spending plunged as shops were ordered to close, while factory and construction output also fell. This pushed the UK into its first technical recession, defined as 2 straight quarters of economic decline since 2009. Similarly, the federal government has begun work on new economic blueprint to replace the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan and Vision 2020, which ends 2020. To this end, a medium-term economic growth acceleration plan 2021 to 2024 is the successor to the ERGP and is underway with a Vision 2040 to follow suit. To discuss this, I have with me a member of one of the technical working groups of the plan. He is Professor Seth Akutson, a professor of economics from Kaduna State University, who joins us from our Kaduna Network Center. Good to have you on the program, Prof.
Very much. My pleasure, please.
Okay, Prof. To start with, the ERGP 2017 to 2020 is aimed at recovering the economy from recession by accelerating growth, invest in human capital, and build a globally competitive economy. From your assessment, has the objective been achieved?
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying no. The objectives have not been achieved for obvious reasons. But there is nothing wrong in planning and projecting for the future. And I think that's what the federal government did. As you are aware, there are a lot of challenges associated with the implementation and execution of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. Yes, there was very ambitious projections, but nobody envisaged the challenges that the global economy is facing at the moment. And so in terms of achieving the key macroeconomic objectives, such as the growth in GDP, vis-a-vis challenges we face with inflation, exchange rate, and all that, so you can see that we are unable to meet up those targets. As it is, the federal government is already working on trying to make some adjustment to the effect that the areas where we feel we can bolt here and there, the government will be able to achieve that. But sincerely, the challenges associated with the implementation of the growth plan was very enormous, and government was unable to achieve those targets given the huge debt service burden that the government is facing, and as well as challenges facing other aspects of the economy, dwindling revenue accruing to government, and so on and so forth. So we are not able to achieve as much. But that notwithstanding, there are some aspects of the plan, at least one. There was a plan in the first instance. Number two, the plan was able to help government to make adjustment to implement some medium-term strategic plan that they have in the past. And so they try to match that.
Talking about this ambition, though these economic plans are great, it's work in progress. Let's take a look at the ERGP. It set a target of about 7% real growth in gross domestic product, talking about the GDP, by 2020. However, the GDP growth in the third quarter of 2019 stood at 2.3%, while it is projected at least 3% in 2020. You agree with me, it's a far cry from the 7% ERGP target. While these figures are being adjusted to meet present realities, where do you think we should go, looking at the pitfalls experienced in the past?
Yes, sincerely, we are not even able to achieve 3% to match the growth in population rate, talk less of even the 7%. As it is now, we have started experiencing in the last quarter, the second quarter that ended, we started experiencing some negatives. And even as at August now, we are still experiencing some negative of 1.something%, almost 2%. Now, what is there is this. What the government is trying to achieve is to see that at least we survive. The economy survives. It has come out of recession a few years ago, that at least we don't face severe recession and even going into a kind of situation that may not be able to recover. So as it is now, the government major concern now is to see how do we survive this COVID-19. And that is one of the focus. And at the same time, the work is still going on to see how do we make adjustment going into the future. There are 3 plans that need to be done: the short term, the medium term, and the long term. So, but to achieve that 7% growth rate is quite very difficult, and if not impossible for now.
Okay, you just mentioned it. The ERGP was aimed at taking us or recovering us from the recession in 2015, experienced in 2015. Now amid COVID-19 and another close shave with another recession, are we going preventive or we are going recovery as ERGP winds up and we look at the medium-term economic growth plan that is coming on board?
Add here that the ERGP was able at least to take us to some level out of that recession. Even though now we are already going back to that, we are trying to avoid a situation where we go into even depression. But as it is, the new framework is to combine the gains of the ERGDP and the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, as well as the new plan that is being formulated, so that to see the area that there can be emerging and taking the advantage that we gain from the earlier plan as well as this one. So this is what we are trying to achieve. So majorly now, given the challenging of recession that we are dampling with, the new plan is just as much as trying to see that at least the first thing is to come out of that recession and then begin to talk about the growth trajectories going forward.
This new plan that is being expected, do we expect to see coordination in fiscal, macroeconomic, the monetary and trade policies that are implementable as in real time, more like learning from lessons of the past?
Of course, one of the challenges of the past is try to find a middle ground between fiscal and monetary policies. The plan is now being developed by the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget, and Planning. And also, of course, the central bank handles the monetary aspect. And in various thematic working group and various committees, we have various MDAs and parastatals and agencies of government on board. So what we are trying to do, we don't want a situation whereby the fiscal and monetary policies are working at cross purposes. We want to see how we can match them so that by the time you tinker with the fiscal angle, the monetary policy angle will not be affected. So what this plan is trying to do is to marry the two. It's still work in progress. We are not there yet. Hopefully by October, November, the draft plan should be ready, and then we should be able to see how it can be replaced. It can replace the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan by December this year. So, but be that as it may, we are hoping that there should be a strong balance between monetary and fiscal policy framework.
Okay, more like an addition to that, the technical working groups are on, work have started. What more should we expect?
Of course, it's still work in progress. Where the document is not out, and I don't think any member of the thematic working group, of which yours faithfully also is a part, is allowed to divulge any information that is ongoing. And I think the ministers and those responsible for bringing out this information out will take care of that. But from my own perspective, and I think that we should expect the best from this report, because this is an assemblage of who is who in various professional angles in this country. They've been able to assemble in hundreds of people working in different groups, looking at different angles, looking at tourism, looking at culture, looking at finance, looking at, in fact, what we have never looked at before. This group, this plan is trying to look at it to explore every aspect of the economy so that at least we'll achieve a non-oil revenue height that we've never experienced in this country going forward.
Okay, Prof, it's good to know that this plan that is in the making is actually private sector driven, and more like the subnationals are going to be involved in this process. With this expectation, will it be solid?
You see, most of the people that the government has brought in to work in the various thematic group are majorly private sector. Some of the government officials, a number of them serve as anchor. We have coordinators, we have people that are consulted to come and be feeding. So the economy is going towards a private sector driven platform because the government is overwhelmed with huge expenditure amidst dwindling revenue. So what is going to happen is that this is not the kind of plan that you bring, whereas some people feel they are excluded. It's going to be highly inclusive of who is who and those who matters, both the rich, the poor, and everybody will be captured in the planned document and virtually its implementation. So I think we should expect the big thing because one, as I said, the plan is not only looking at the short-term measures, the medium-term or the what have you. We are also looking at the long-term up to the year 2050. So you can see that it's a very long haul. We have various plans that we have used before and all that, but this one is going to capture and encapsulate virtually every angle of the plan of the economy. Thank you.
Okay, Prof, a quick one there. Would this new plan work in alignment with attainment of various regional global agendas like the Agenda 2063, the ECOWAS integration agenda, as well as the sustainable development goals of like 2030?
Of course, you cannot try to reinvent the wheel. What we are trying to do, we benchmark with international best practice. You have the sustainable development goals that is projected to 2030, but we also have the Agenda 2060. But we have our plan beyond the 2030 and it falls in between the 2030 and 2060. We have that plan going on as I speak. So these are benchmarks of international best practices that we want to bring on board to say that whatever document will be produced that will meet up with international best practice, which will meet up with certain goals that particularly how are we going to leverage on the African free trade angle to look at how do we gain advantage to reduce the heavy importation and then we start going into export so that we can begin to earn a lot of foreign exchange. So we are going to look at that and I think the document at the end of the day will not be so much deviated from what we already have in terms of the AU document, the African Union, even the European Union too. We have worked with them. They also give some support as well as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So every document we are producing will be benchmarked vis-a-vis the existing document as well as the one we have within the country.
Thank you very much, Prof, for sharing your thoughts with us and letting us into the medium and long-term development plan. It's always a pleasure having you on Business Express.
Much my pleasure, please.
Thank you. Well, moving on, equities closed on a positive note in the midweek trade this Wednesday. The NSE All-Share Index advanced by 1.04% to close at 25,141.48. Market capitalization rose to 13.115 trillion naira. Shares exchanged hands by investors in 3,636 deals valued at 3.8 billion naira. Seplat, Airtel, Africa and Presco were the top price gainers for the day. Guarantee, Access and Zenith Bank recorded the highest volume of traded shares. To the commodity market now, Nigeria's forex shock resulting from the fall in price of oil has reinforced the CBN's resolve to ration forex in defense of the naira. This has forced most importers to blend their forex from various sources at a rate higher than the convergent rate of exchange, resulting in increase in prices of many commodities. For instance, the price of a bag of flour increased by 52.9% to 13,000 naira this week. Let's see how other commodities are faring. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Business Express. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag #BizX. Remember to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols. Business Express returns Thursday at 9:30 a.m. on the network service of the NTA. I am Benny Adams saying stay safe.